Happy 10th of December, everybody. Let's see what's behind the Advent calendar door today. Oh, lovely. Another Christmas botanicals. Today we're painting the Christmas amaryllis. Grab your paints and let's get started. So we've got another lovely Christmas named plant, Christmas amaryllis, and I have been doing a little bit of research, and it seems that the Christmas amaryllis is particularly prevalent in Canada for Christmas celebrations. Maybe whereas I'm more familiar with like a poinsettia, this is the plant of choice for Christmas out there. But do let me know, and do let me know if you've ever grown one. So we've got our little plant pot. It's a bit wobbly, isn't it? There we go. And now I'm going to do some nice vertical thick stems, and at the top there the flower has got 6 big petals, so 3 and then 3 in behind in the gaps, and then we'll do another one to the side, so we'll just see it sort of trumpeting out petals folding back on themselves. And then you usually see a few buds sort of growing underneath. And yeah, that looks really nice. And we'll do a Christmassy pot, I think. So what do we want? Let's begin with that. Let's begin with the pot. So I'm going to do... We'll start making it sort of terracotta coloured. So we'll get the yellow ochre and the burnt sienna in there. And a little bit of the orangey red tone. Whoops, that's a good start. I'm just using it quite dilute at this point. Do the rim first. Get a bit more colour in at the sides. That's what helps make something look a bit more rounded. And you see how if you don't always just feel the need to colour in everything completely, you end up getting just a nice sort of interesting range of colour on something. And then we'll just paint in the back there. Okay. Now the red flower is a real pillar box red, bright red. I'm going to begin just by adding a small amount of Alizarin crimson into the red, and there's also like a tiny hint of a dark tone right in the centre of the flower. So I'm going to mix up, oh excuse me if you can hear Crumble barking, then well, you're one of the lucky ones. I'm never quite sure how far his bark carries, but it's always nice to know he's never too far away, isn't it? Okay, let me see. It's so interesting, the different blues and brown combinations. If you mix them, what comes out, because that one is coming out very green. But this blue and this brown in this palette is turning into a nice sort of darker grey tone, which is what I want. Okay, right, clean my brush off, make sure it's nice and clean. And I'm going to begin by painting in the 3 sort of front petals. I'm not going fully into the middle there. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of this dark colour and just drop a little bit of that in. And then I'm going to take some really sort of bold red and just drop it in from the other end. I'm going to wait for that to dry a little bit before I put in the other petals. Right, time to fill in the other petals. See, it's always easier to add colour in layers or blends rather than put in too much and need to take it away. So you can see those reds are quite delicate and pale. That means we can add, probably only in the top there, a tiny bit of that dark colour, and then I'll just take some stronger red and just from the point there just add a little bit, a few streaks of colour. That looks rather lovely. Now for the flower in behind, we just need to paint in each petal, sort of imagining it protruding out and the petals sort of folding back like that. We're not really going to see the dark colour, but we will get a nice bit of the red. And then there are of course little red buds. Do a little bit of the dark colour just there, and then we can put in the stems, but whilst we wait for that, let's just return our attention down back to the pot. So I'm going to take some burnt sienna, just mix a little bit of that in with the dark colour there so I can create a nice soil. So we'll dot that in. And then for our Christmassy pot, well, I fancy doing a little sort of snowflakey star design. So I'm just using the red in a really concentrated manner. With these patterns, it's just all about keeping it simple, but repetition is key. And then you can always build up the detail if you want, but usually just something like that is really effective. And you know me, I always like to get a deeper, darker colour and maybe just come in with a little bit more detail. Lovely. So let's go back up to the plant. So this green again is quite a good green, even though it seems really vibrant. I actually think this sort of bluey, strange bluey colour I had up here is going to work as a helpful tone as well. So I'm going to paint in one stem. Clean my brush off and just add a little bit of that darkness there. Whilst I wait for that to dry, I'm going to mix up some really concentrated cadmium yellow. And so amaryllis flowers also have some bright yellow stamen. Now I don't know if we're going to necessarily see this, but we can try. That's why you need it really concentrated. Sort of. See it a little bit. So another thing I can do whilst I'm waiting for the first stem to dry is maybe just add a little bit more red to the stems there. Okay, let's give it a little bit more time to dry and we'll finish it off with the other stem. Second stem in. And I think actually that there's quite a lot of yellow as well in the stem, so I'll just drop a little bit of that in. But otherwise that's looking really lovely, and something we haven't done a huge amount of in this advent calendar, which, considering how I like to paint, is quite astonishing, because we haven't done a bit of shadow. So let's pop a little bit of shadow in for this one, just a little bit. So some dilute blue and brown. And there we have today's Christmas amaryllis. I really hope you enjoyed that one, and I hope that you're sharing your work on social media as we go through the calendar. Let everyone know what a lovely time you're having, and don't forget to tag me at the Winton Paper Co on Instagram, because I would love to see your work and I'd love to share it with everybody else, just to show everyone what fun we're having. So I'll see you again tomorrow.